Bonjour et donc bienvenue ici au Mad Club de Lausanne à l'occasion de la 4e édition du Swiss Web Festival. J'espère que vous allez bien. Vous allez bien ? Ah, quand même. Voilà, c'est vrai qu'il y a une salle pleine, donc ça fait plaisir. Donc je suis sûr que vous allez passer 3 jours plus passionnants au terme de ces 3 jours. Donc je suis sûr que vous allez ressortir avec plein d'informations supplémentaires. Et ce festival, c'est des workshops, c'est des conférences, c'est des échanges. Voici très succinctement finalement le programme de ces 3 jours de festival. Et au centre de nos préoccupations, nos interrogations, nos connaissances également, l'avenir tout simplement et le développement de la communication digitale. Mais le Swiss Web Festival, faut-il encore le rappeler avant toute chose, une compétition qui a pour objectif de valoriser les productions qui sont destinées au web, mais aussi aux autres plateformes digitales. Alors si vous n'avez encore pas eu l'occasion de visionner certaines de ces vidéos, je ne peux que vous encourager à aller sur le site du festival, swisswebfestival.com, et vous pourrez trouver toutes ces catégories. Il y a 7 catégories, donc vous avez de quoi faire. Donc n'hésitez pas, les votes sont encore ouverts. Et avant d'entrer dans le vif du sujet avec notre première conférence, je vous propose d'accueillir la personne sans qui finalement cette aventure n'existerait pas, une personne qui aime regarder de l'avant, qui va de l'avant avec ses idées, ses convictions. On applaudit très fort le président de ce festival, monsieur Bertrand Saillant. Bonjour Bertrand.
Bonjour à tous.
Une salle pleine, ça fait plaisir.
Magnifique, merci d'être là. Merci à tous. Merci aux conférenciers, aux gens qui permettent d'avoir un programme aussi riche pour ces 3 prochains jours. Merci aussi à tous les partenaires qui permettent de vous accueillir dans ce lieu particulier et magnifique qu'on a du plaisir à changer, à faire évoluer pour un cadre un peu différent que les conférences habituelles que vous pouvez peut-être fréquenter. On espère que ça vous plaira. Donc là, on va vivre 3 heures de conférence avec plein de contenus très variés et très différents. Et puis à partir de 19h, on passera à la partie récréative et festive où on partagera ensemble des bons moments de discussion et de fête.
Il ne faut pas avoir peur quand on dit 3 heures de conférence. Ça passe vite, il y a plein de choses hyper intéressantes. Vous inquiétez pas.
Donc merci infiniment d'être là et puis on est parti pour 3 jours. Le format, donc vous avez des workshops en début d'après-midi dont certains ont participé. Les workshops sont sur inscription, je préfère toujours le repréciser parce que des gens viennent sans s'inscrire et comme ils ont beaucoup de succès, souvent ils sont complets, donc je préfère donner cette info avant. Les conférences que vous allez vivre maintenant et puis la remise des prix aussi jeudi soir, comme tu le disais avant. N'hésitez pas à voter en ligne sur swisswebfestival.com pour les différents programmes qui sont en compétition. Le but, c'est de valoriser la création audiovisuelle, la création de contenu pour le web. Et puis aussi, c'est de découvrir le côté stratégique et diffusion que vous allez voir dans ces conférences.
Peut-être très rapidement, sans rentrer dans les détails du programme, mais quand on monte un festival, quand c'est la 4e édition, de trouver de nouvelles idées, de nouveaux interlocuteurs, de nouvelles envies d'aller de l'avant, c'est difficile.
J'ai la chance ultime d'être dans un des trucs qui va le plus vite, je crois.
C'est vrai.
Aujourd'hui, le digital, il y a tellement de nouveautés qui arrivent chaque jour, chaque heure. Et donc, c'est vraiment un plaisir. C'est plutôt dans le choix et dans les directions de la création de contenu sur le web et dans le digital qu'il faut faire des choix. On prend des virages, une année plus d'un côté, une année plus dans l'autre. Mais voilà, il y a beaucoup de choses à présenter. Donc, non, ça se présente assez bien. Et puis, les gens sont aussi très cool d'année en année d'être d'accord de participer, de venir consacrer du temps pour vous parler de leurs expériences.
Et puis c'est en famille, hein. On est là
complètement en famille.
Bon, très bien. Merci beaucoup Bertrand Saillant, on peut l'applaudir.
Merci infiniment. Bonne semaine.
Alors Bertrand l'a dit, c'est vrai que ça va vite et pour ne rien rater, il faut une équipe pour communiquer, pour faire vivre ce festival tout au long de ces 3 jours et même au-delà. Et pour ça, on a une équipe en place qui s'occupe des réseaux sociaux. Alors je vais laisser la parole à David Labouré qui s'en occupe nettement mieux que moi et qui en parle surtout mieux que moi. David, bonjour. On peut l'applaudir aussi, parce qu'il fait un boulot assez conséquent. Alors dis-nous en quelques mots ce qui va se passer durant ces 3 jours et l'interactivité possible avec le festival.
Alors une équipe est en place pour vous faire vivre le festival sur les principaux réseaux sociaux, donc Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, également un peu de LinkedIn pour même côté moins festif mais quand même important. Par contre, on compte beaucoup sur vous, donc vos contenus sont très importants pour nous, donc on compte vraiment sur vos réactions, vos commentaires avec le hashtag SwissWeb sur Twitter et également le partage de vos photos pour les conférences, pour les soirées. Allez-y, lâchez-vous, que ce soit sur Instagram, dans les stories d'Instagram. Donc on compte sur vos participations pour animer, vous voyez, pour enrichir l'écran que vous voyez ici en haut. Une interface qui nous est proposée par Finity et qui nous met à jour. Donc on continue vos réactions, vos commentaires sur les 3 jours du Swiss Web.
Merci beaucoup David, on peut l'applaudir. Et donc n'hésitez pas,
Merci.
comme il a dit, d'avoir ce côté interactif durant les conférences. Vous pouvez aussi poser des questions, hein, bien évidemment. Vous pouvez lever la main à tout moment des conférences. Vous êtes là aussi pour ça, donc pour échanger. Alors, je vous l'ai dit tout à l'heure, plusieurs conférences. Et aujourd'hui, au programme, 4 conférences, avec notamment comme fil conducteur les influenceurs. C'est vrai qu'aujourd'hui, on parle de plus en plus d'influenceurs. Des influenceurs qui séduisent les grandes marques, à l'image de Coca Cola. Alors, pour en parler, nous accueillons nos premiers invités. Tanja Hermann, qui est Project Manager, et Robert Percze, qui est Senior Brand Manager chez Coca Cola. Venez seulement. Bonjour. Hi. Alors, petite information, la conférence, alors je crois que c'est marqué sur les écrans, sera donnée en anglais. Mais je suis sûr que vous maîtrisez la langue de Shakespeare sans aucun problème. So, it's your turn. You're on.
Thank you. Bonjour. Je m'appelle Robert. Je suis brand manager de Coca Cola. Unfortunately, this is the point where my knowledge of the French language ends. So I hope I will still be able to have your attention in English together with my colleague Tanja for the next 30 minutes or so, where we will talk about a new chapter in the rich history of Coca Cola. About this new chapter, my colleague will talk about in some more detail. First, let me go back a little bit in time to show you where we are coming from. Some of you may know that Coca-Cola, the drink, was invented by a pharmacist called John Pemberton in Atlanta in 1886. And he probably wasn't aware of the significance of what he created because he sold the rights to the drink shortly after the invention, and he died as a poor man. But he still remains the starting point to a unique success story. Because I believe it is no exaggeration if I say that Coca-Cola conquered the world in the 20th century. Now, what can this success be attributed to? I believe at the end of the day, it comes down to 2 things. Coca-Cola, the product, and Coca-Cola, the brand. About the product, we know that it has a secret formula. We know that it has always had the same formula. There was only one attempt in the history when they tried to change the formula, but the overwhelming negative response ensured that it was also the last such attempt. We also know about the product that it's sold in the unique, iconic contour bottle, which is also more than 100 years old, and the list of iconic features continues. But at the end of the day, what is really the secret is that it's a great tasting, refreshing, and uplifting beverage, which tastes the same all over the world, and as such, it provides the same sensory pleasure to everyone. Like our marketing director from Atlanta once said, probably the Queen of England and some guy in a random poor African country don't have too much to discuss about, but probably they can always talk about the great Coca-Cola, which they enjoyed the previous evening. And next to the product, there's of course world-class marketing. I'm pretty sure that all of you have seen an ad like the following one before.
Watch out, look around, something's coming to your town.
Because Coca-Cola created a great number of assets during the decades, such as Christmas. When you think about it, the Santa Claus that we know today is said to have been inspired by the jolly old man that the Coca-Cola company was using in its advertising in the 1930s. So we can also say we had quite an effect on popular culture. And of course, Coca-Cola has long served as an example when it comes to emotional storytelling, because it was one of the brands which communicated not only the product benefits, but also the emotions connected to it, like in the next ad.
I don't want you to be no slave. I don't want you to work all day. But I want you to be true.
No wonder it's so hard to get an appointment here.
Love to you.
Now, some of you may be a bit too young to know this ad, but this is one of the most successful Coca-Cola Light or Diet Coke ads in the history. It's also Tanja's favorite commercial. That's why it made it into the presentation. But I guess we all had that feeling once where we just really wanted to have an ice-cold Coca-Cola after seeing such an ad. And then the person who's watching it just wants to relieve those feelings, to have the same experience again. And this is also reflected in our core creative idea. The simple pleasure of drinking a Coca-Cola makes the moment more special. So one can think that, okay, Coca-Cola, it is a great product that will be desired forever. It has a brand value which is rock solid. Currently on the list of most valuable brands, it's number 4, behind only Apple, Microsoft, and Google. So people could think that, okay, Coca-Cola can sit back, it will be popular forever. But this would be the single biggest mistake that we could do, because new generations are coming up, and the world is becoming faster, and there is an increasing number of product brands, product categories, among which Coca-Cola can simply get lost. And this is something that we need to keep in mind always, that we need to address these upcoming new generations, otherwise we may easily lose them forever. As it's crystal clear to all of us, I guess, most of the teens live their lives online. And if we can believe what somebody stated in a recent study on teens, if they lived their lives exclusively online, they would not know that a brand called Coca-Cola exists. Now, this can be an exaggeration, maybe it's not representative, but it gives you an understanding that we need to address teens, otherwise such a big brand such as Coca-Cola can also get lost. Now, we have our tools where we are tracking the performance of our brands. And this tool showed the following trend in the previous years. This is brand I love, and the lower line is brand I love, and the upper line is referring to the consumption in the past 4 weeks. And we can see that the trend is basically declining, even though there was a peak in 2015, but it's declining. And this is also telling us that the way we communicate to teens is not working like it used to. So we need to make a change. And this change we started to do already last year. We know from local studies that localness is very crucial in Switzerland. Therefore, we work with local ambassadors and influencers. We are also reconsidering our media spending, because online has an increasing share now in the media mix that we are putting on air. For example, on Fanta brand, there's basically no TV presence this year, because we recognized that for a brand which is targeted to teens, we should be where teens actually spend their time. This is why we go all digital. Fanta was also the brand where we did our first local influencer campaign last year, and it worked out very well and gave us a good impression that we should continue on this thread. And also this year, the concept for Fanta is that teens create marketing for teens. And next year, or this year actually, we are going even one step further. And here I will hand over to my colleague Tanja, who will talk about a place where only awesome happens.
So, hello everybody. So as you heard a lot of things we already know about Coke, so I'm going to tell you about the things you didn't know so far. As Robert already mentioned, we went one step further. In the beginning of this year, I was asked to take over a project called VOA. As he said, it stands for Where Only Awesome Happens. And for those of you who wonder why we have such a special name for a platform like that, try find a name that works in the Latin, the Russian, and the Greek alphabet, and is not registered in any of 193 countries. After 2 years and 250 names we tried, was the only one left. So that's why it's called VOA. So what is VOA? It's a content platform. We all know there are kind of a lot of content platforms, some pretty big ones, so we knew that's not enough. So we add transactions. So what we do is we don't not only create global content mixed with local content, we tie it back to transactions to our products. And the whole thing, we promote purely through influencers. To give you an idea on what that might look like, I will go two slides further, apparently. Because the first thing we had to ask ourselves when we're going for that approach is, okay, we need influencers, and they need to talk about our platform. I think most of you have seen in their Instagram feeds those nice people handing a project like that into a photo, and you just see product, face, and that's it. That's what I call seeding. So you add a product to a person, and you try to make it as visible as possible. Now with an app, that's kind of difficult, because just holding the phone next to you with an app on it, I don't know if anybody would like to try it. So we said, okay, seeding doesn't seem to be the right approach for us. We need to go for creating. So that's even a bit more complicated. So we had to find the right influencers and start creating content in Switzerland for Coca Cola, which launches a brand that is called VOA, and we somehow need to explain that to people. What that looks like is shown here. Hopefully. Nope. Maybe somebody else can play the video. No. That's not good.
There is no video in the...
There's no video in there?
No.
That's not good. Okay. I continue with the presentation. We find the video, and at some point tonight, you're going to see it here. So what we did is we asked them to create content for us that I'm then going to show you, where they did different challenges for us. So as VOA was a new thing, and it was all targeted to teens, it was about trying things for the first time. So instead talking about an app and maybe some different functionalities it has, it was about creating stories that you can see exclusively on VOA. So we invited 19 different influencers that did something for the first time. They told their communities that they're going to try that, and if the community wanted to see the video, they had to go to our platform in order to watch it. For those who were performing best, they got a full year contract with Coke, and they're creating now content on a weekly basis for us. So this is the approach we chose, and the thing that you would have seen in the video. So to go a step back now, it's about, okay, now you know what we did, you know who we chose, but what exactly is influencer marketing? Because every time I talk to somebody, I get a lot of very interesting explanations, but they're very different. What we know is it gets more relevant. This is a graph from Google Trends. So we see that in the last 6 months in Switzerland, this curve really went up, and people started Googling it, which usually is a sign for somebody heard the word, and now everybody tries figuring out what it means. So the first discussion I usually have with people is, what is an influencer? And what is a brand ambassador? And is an influencer a brand ambassador? Or is it the other way around? And what is a YouTuber? So there are a lot of different words and not very clear understandings of what means what. Luckily, and thanks to Google, there is an explanation you can find, defined by Cambridge and the Oxford Dictionary. To not just read out loud what it says there, the main difference is, if you work with an influencer, you give them the product, and you let them decide what's happening to that product. Because the reason they're known is because they're creative. That's how they build a community. So you should trust them, and you should hand it over to them. Give them a briefing, tell them about the messaging, and let them work with it. What you can do other than that is brand ambassadors. So you can choose famous people that have the same value as your product does. You invite them to a shooting, and then they add the face to your product. So this is actually the main difference between those two. It doesn't mean that an influencer can also be a brand ambassador or vice versa, but that's the difference between the two different approaches. So different steps to success, how we like to call them. We know those steps because we pretty much made everything once wrong before we found out how it works correctly. So I'm just going to share the result with you. So the most important parts take place before you start the campaign. And I can only repeat that so often, because if you don't know what you want, you're probably not going to get it. So you need to define those targets first. What is it you want to achieve? Who do you want to reach? What is the message people should recall when seeing your content? So you need to be very clear on that. If you don't know what you want, how should the influencer know what they're supposed to do? You cannot send them a 40 pages briefing because not even you are going to read it. So you cannot expect other people to do it for you. The next step is the selection of the influencers. So, of course, you can just go for the biggest ones. But if you just take those and you don't know anything about them, you don't know what kind of food they like, where they went on vacation, if they just broke up with their boyfriend, if you try to do a happiness campaign and actually they have been crying on their YouTube channel for 6 months, probably not the best fit. So it is a lot of work, and it meant me sitting on my sofa for night shifts, going through different YouTube channels and checking out who is in love with whom and who break up with whom and whether that diet now worked or not, to find those influencers that fit my values. Then I'm going to ask them if they would like to work for me. And just because I want them as a brand doesn't mean that the influencer wants to work with me. So there are the negotiations. You need a contract. We are quite a big company, so everything we do goes through a lot of different departments. So first explaining to the legal department what exactly we try to do and how to translate that and why we cannot send snaps for approval 2 weeks before we post them. Took a moment, but we are there. So you have those contracts. Everybody knows what is expected. Everybody knows what is paid and how things are going to be measured. You start writing the brief. So everybody knows what to do. They're working on it. They send you the content. You approve the content. So even though you let them do their thing, you still should see what they post before things just go online and you have no idea what is going on with your product. I will talk about that in a later slide again. And after that, of course, there's the reporting, and you need to look at the numbers. Because one thing is the idea, the other thing is seeing if that idea worked. Because sometimes things look really great in a PowerPoint presentation, but when they become live, it doesn't look that good. So when we started that whole thing, we had quite a clear understanding of what we wanted. We wanted some more authentic content. We wanted creativity that our agencies couldn't give us. We wanted new ideas. Of course, organic reach that came through the peers of the influencers, and some user-generated content. Now, this is what we got. We got content that was late, and we were having deadlines with different print magazines. This is something that doesn't work. If you need to hand in something by 12 o'clock and you set a deadline for the morning, yeah, that page is going to be blank. We received content that wasn't in line with the briefing. We received videos where some legal things were missing. So they used songs they didn't have the usage rights for. If you do that in your private account, nobody cares. But once the Coke logo is in it, and we use the newest song from Beyoncé, you can be pretty sure the management's going to call us. We had influencers making jokes that are pretty funny. But again, when there is a Coke logo next to it, and they make jokes about minorities, my press guy gets quite nervous. And some people were using products from our competition because they didn't know it's not the same company, but actually our biggest competition. So in other words, we got a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And we had to figure that one out. So as I promised, we're going to talk again about that approval chain. It's, in my eyes, the funniest part of the whole campaign. So whenever you get those videos, and you downloaded them, and you made it before the WeTransfer link expired, you're going to check it. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, are all rights covered? So are they doing illegal things in the videos? Do we have the music rights? Do we have the right to film the people that are actually seen in the video? If you don't have those rights, you probably shouldn't proceed. If you don't care if you have those rights, you should see if your legal department cares about it. If you have the rights, okay, fine. Then there's the next big thing you need to make sure. is whatever it says in that video, the humor it has, the style it has, the values it has, is that in line with your company? If you're the most sincere company and suddenly you try to be super funny, nobody's going to believe you that. You cannot just do an influencer campaign and do everything differently and think that people are going to believe it. It's going to look strange that your brand is now associated with values that were different for 100 years. So, of course, you can be edgier, you can try new things, you can be a bit more extreme, a bit more free than if you would write it in your own words, but still it should be in line with what you believe in as a company. If all of that is okay, you can go for it. So, the slide that gets the most attention. What do we pay for an influencer? So, there is no price list coming with that slide, but some helpful things, I hope, for most of you. What we see in the Swiss market is that most influencers do the content either here in French or in the German part, in High German or in English. So the community they have is not just Swiss speaking, but the targets we get and we're measured by is only Switzerland. So if 90% of the followers are in Germany or France, we have not anything to measure the success of our campaign. So first of all, we need to make sure that we reach the people there where we need to reach them. Is it a local campaign? Is it a global campaign? And where are the people coming from that we are actually reaching with that campaign? You should also look at the age, because if you try to reach people between 30 and 40, but the followers are all under 25, probably not the right influencer for you, even if you like the style. So if you have figured that out, and you know, okay, the people they reach are the people we want to reach, the other thing you need to look at is how do you build that salary? If you're, for example, a mobile brand, you can give them a new smartphone. That's already worth 1,000 Swiss francs. So of course that can be part of a salary. But for us, giving somebody a free Coke, even though it's very good, probably not enough for a salary if somebody has to work for a week on a content. So that thing influences how you pay them. Is it just a picture you want, or is it a video? And is it only a video where they do a short message for you, or are they having a full shooting day with some travel expenses? So all those factors. What is the average reach they have on a channel? What is the average engagement they get for it? Because it's not just about followers, but also how active the community is, because you want people to really consume your content and engage with it. What is the number of assets you need? Is it just one picture, or is it probably 5 videos? And as mentioned, are there any further expenses for it? Do they need to buy, try, or do something in order to be able to create the content for you? And in the end, the other question, what costs an agency? So also here what I can tell you is that some agencies charge a percentage of the salary they negotiate with the influencers. Some charge just the work they have. So they say, okay, it's 2 days of work, so I'm going to charge you that. Sometimes they also pay a special fee for the concept they do around that whole influencer marketing. And in most cases, it's a combination of all of that, which is probably the most appropriate one. So the question is, what do we get out of it? So all that work, you see, it isn't done just by clicking. Of course, we get organic reach. And what you're going to see with the results Robert is going to present, that organic reach is quite valuable. We get better view-through rates. One of the biggest issues as a brand you have is people don't really watch your TV spots. We just talked about it in the car coming here, that when you have the skippable ads on YouTube, the only thing people wait is the 3, 2, 1, I can skip. So nobody's going to watch your video. So to have videos that people really watch so that they get the full message is really, really interesting for us. We get more creativity. If you have a whole network of creative people working around your brand, you get so many different facets of your brand and how you can do a messaging. It's really cool. And you get the local relevance. People recognize that this was filmed in Lausanne or Geneva or Bern, and they like it. It's nice to see a place you're familiar with. And most of all, we get a new voice for teens. one that doesn't sound like a creepy old man in the office trying to sound funny. So now I'm going to hand over again to Robert.
Thank you. So the creepy old man is back on the stage. So how does the content get to the target group? Actually, it's traveling on 2 channels. One of them is the channels of the influencer. Usually first it starts with a teaser post on their Instagram story or Snapchat account, and then the main content is posted on their, the branded content is posted on their main account. And then at the end, they can also put like a behind-the-scenes material on their YouTube channel or on their blog. And in parallel, actually, we are also activating the brand channels. So we are also starting with a teaser post on our Facebook fan page. And when the influencer is posting the main content on their main channel, we are reposting it on our channels and then link back to the influencer account. And this way, we are trying to really maximize the reach. And I will show you on the next slide that these numbers are quite fascinating. It's also good to have a content hub created, which is kept for content, so that people can come back for even more content. And at the end of the campaign, we can also close with a video which is featuring the highlights of this campaign. And regarding the numbers, how is this working out for us? These are the figures from the first wave of the WAR campaign. And in the black row, you can see the results from the influencer channels. And below that, in white, you can see how the amplification on our own brand channels worked. I would say that it worked quite well. Because especially looking at the target group size, the reach is quite immense. In some KPIs, we managed to actually almost double the reach in this case. So I would say this looks like a winning setup. And as wrapping up, I would like to give some tips on how to work with influencers. So to have a look at the list of do's. What should we do? First of all, get to know your influencers. Check how well they fit the brand. Also, try to see what they did before so that you have an idea what you can expect. Second, whenever you are doing a briefing, try to be as short and clear as possible. Now, we as brand people, and I'm also one of them, think that it's obvious whatever they're talking about, others will also understand. But this is not necessarily so. So whenever we're doing briefings, we rather keep it short and then let the influencers add their own ideas to that. The next points may also seem a bit obvious, but they're not, because I would say that a good administration is like a strong foundation to a good cooperation. So this is something very important to have. Next one is the content approval. Tanja was mentioning what sort of difficulties we are getting into when somebody's posting something where they're using some music which they're not supposed to. So we need to have like a solid process in place so that we don't generate additional work for us trying to clear up the mess, which could have been avoided if we had a solid process in place. And last but not least, think long term. Because these influencers can be really a valuable asset for you in the long run. And you should build them up. And when it comes to the list of don'ts, it's quite simple. So try to avoid missing all the steps that we listed on the left-hand side. And with that, I've come to the end of our presentation. So merci beaucoup for your attention.
Merci beaucoup pour les applaudir. Tanja, vous pouvez nous rejoindre. Alors, si jamais vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas. Vous allez rester encore un moment. Vous pouvez en profiter pour échanger aussi avec nos deux premiers intervenants. Merci beaucoup.